The morning sun rose over New Jeju, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. The human colony had been here for 20 years now, and it had grown into a beautiful place. Farms stretched across the valleys and small towns dotted the landscape. About 50,000 people called this world home. They had come from Earth to build a new life among the stars. Corporal Ji-won Kim stood at her post near the colony's defense center. She watched the sunrise and smiled. Life here was peaceful. She had served in Earth's military before coming to New Jeju, and she had seen real combat. But here her job was easy. She checked sensors, ran drills, and made sure everyone stayed safe. Most days, nothing happened at all. Ji-won's radio crackled. "Morning, Corporal," a voice said. It was Private Taemin, her partner on duty. "Morning," Ji-won replied. "Anything on the sensors?" "All clear. Just some trader ships passing through." "The usual," Ji-won nodded. That was good news. New Jeju had friends among the alien species. The Vithari came often to trade. They were peaceful beings with 4 arms and gentle voices. The Quiln came to study the planet's plants and animals. They looked like tall birds with scales instead of feathers. These aliens had become part of the community. Their children even played with human children at the parks. Across town, Dr. Minho Park was already at work in his laboratory. He studied alien life forms and helped both humans and aliens understand each other better. Today he was preparing a presentation for the Colony Council. They wanted to expand trade with another species, and Minho's job was to make sure it was safe. He looked at his screen and read through reports. The galaxy was mostly peaceful these days. The Universal Accord kept most species from fighting. There were rules about war, about trade, and about treating other beings with respect. Minho believed in these rules. He had dedicated his life to building bridges between species. His assistant knocked on the door. "Dr. Park, Ambassador Vekthar is here to see you." "Send him in," Minho said with a smile. The door opened, and Vekthar entered. The Vithari ambassador was tall and had smooth purple skin. His forearms moved gracefully as he walked. His face, though alien, could show expressions that humans understood. Right now he was smiling. "Good morning, my friend," Vekthar said. "Good morning, Ambassador. Are you ready for the school visit?" "I am excited," Vekthar replied. Human children are always so curious. I enjoy answering their questions. The two of them left the laboratory and walked toward the elementary school. Children's voices could be heard from inside. It was a happy sound. Inside the school, teacher Hyejin Lee was preparing her classroom. She arranged chairs in a circle and set up a display about different alien cultures. Today was special. Ambassador Vekthar was coming to talk to her students about his people. Hyejin loved these days. The children always learned so much. Her students began arriving. They were between 5 and 10 years old, full of energy and questions. Among them were 2 siblings, Doyun and Nari. Doyun was 7 years old, serious and protective of his little sister. Nari was 5, curious about everything and always smiling. "Teacher Hyejin," Nari called out, running to her desk. "Is the alien ambassador really coming today?" "Yes, Nari. And remember, we call him Ambassador Vekthar. He's our friend." "I know," Nari said. "I want to ask him about his homeworld. Does he have a sister like I have a brother?" Hyejin smiled. "You can ask him that when he arrives." The children settled into their seats. Hyejin began the lesson by showing pictures of different alien species. She explained how the Universal Accord helped everyone live in peace. She told stories about how humans and aliens work together to solve problems. "Remember," Hyejin said, "we're all different, but we all want the same things. We want our families to be safe. We want our children to grow up happy. We want to live in peace." The children nodded. Even the youngest ones understood this simple truth. A knock came at the door. Dr. Minho Park and Ambassador Vekthar entered the classroom. The children gasped in wonder. Many had seen aliens before, but having one in their classroom was still exciting. "Good morning, young ones," Vekthar said in perfect English. His voice was musical and kind. "Good morning, Ambassador," the children replied together. For the next hour, Vekthar told stories about his homeworld. He showed them pictures of Vithari cities that floated on water. He demonstrated their traditional music, making sounds that seemed impossible for a human to make. The children laughed and clapped. Nari raised her hand. "Ambassador Vekthar, why are humans and aliens friends?" The ambassador paused. He looked at the small girl with her bright eyes and innocent question. Then he looked at all the children in the room. "That is a very important question, little one," he said. "We are friends because humans understand something that took my people many years to learn. They understand that protecting children, any children, is sacred. When we first met humans, they taught us this. They showed us that it doesn't matter if a child has 2 arms or 4 arms, if they have skin or scales, if they come from Earth or from across the galaxy. Every child deserves to be safe and loved." The children listened quietly. Even Doyun, who usually fidgeted in his seat, sat still and paid attention. "Your people made us better," Vekthar continued, "and we try every day to be worthy of your friendship." Hijin felt tears in her eyes. She had heard many speeches about human-alien relations, but this was special. This was real. The lesson ended, and the children thanked the ambassador. As Vekthar left with Minho, he stopped at the door and looked back at the classroom. The children were already playing together, their laughter filling the room. "They are precious," Vekthar said to Minho. "They are," Minho agreed. "They're our future." Meanwhile, at the defense center, Jiwon was reviewing her screens. Something caught her attention. There were ships at the edge of the system. Unknown ships. She frowned and increased the sensor range. "Taemin, are you seeing this?" she asked. "Yeah, I see it. 3 ships. No identification signals." Jiwon felt a small worry in her chest, but she pushed it away. Unknown ships weren't unusual. Sometimes traders forgot to send their signals. Sometimes explorers passed through without stopping. "Keep watching them," she said. "Let me know if they come closer." "Will do, Corporal." Jiwon looked out the window at the peaceful colony. Children were walking home from school. People were working in the fields. Life was normal. Life was good. She didn't know that the unknown ships belonged to the Kryn, a species known for raiding colonies and taking resources by force. She didn't know that their commander Drath had chosen New Jeju as his next target. She didn't know that in a few hours everything would change. For now, New Jeju was at peace. The children were safe. The sun was shining. And in the school, young Nari was telling her brother about the wonderful ambassador who visited their class. He said humans protect all children. Nari said happily, "Isn't that nice?" Doyen nodded, holding his sister's hand as they walked home. "Yeah," he said. "That's really nice." Neither of them knew that very soon they would need that protection. Neither of them knew that they were about to discover just how fiercely humans keep their promises. The attack came without warning. One moment, New Jeju was peaceful. The next moment, explosions shook the ground. Alarms screamed across the colony. People looked up at the sky and saw ships, dark and angular, dropping from the clouds. At the defense center, Jiwon's screen lit up with red warnings. "We're under attack!" she shouted into her radio. "All defense personnel report to stations immediately." She grabbed her weapon and ran outside. Above her, the Kryn ships fired at the colony's shield generators. Blue energy shields flickered and died. Without them, the colony was vulnerable. "Who are they?" Taemin yelled, running to join her. "Kryn raiders," Jiwon said, her voice tight. She had read about the Kryn. They were known for attacking weak targets, stealing resources, and disappearing before help could arrive. But New Jeju had the protection of the Universal Accord. Attacking them was supposed to be illegal. The Kryn clearly didn't care about laws. Explosions hit the resource depot on the east side of town. Fire and smoke rose into the air. Jiwon's radio filled with voices, all talking at once. People were scared. People needed help. "Listen up," Jiwon commanded. "Get all civilians to the shelters now. Defense teams form up at rally points. We hold them off until help arrives." But Jiwon knew the truth. Help was far away. The nearest human military base was 3 days' travel at top speed. The colony defense force had only 30 soldiers and light weapons. The Kryn had 3 warships and at least 100 soldiers. This was not a fair fight. Across town, Dr. Minho Park was in his laboratory when the attack began. The building shook and equipment fell from shelves. He immediately activated the emergency communication system. "This is Dr. Park to any ship in range," he said urgently. "New Jeju colony is under attack by Kryn forces. We are a civilian colony. We have families here. We have children. Please, we need help." He sent the message on all frequencies and hoped someone would hear it. Then he ran outside to help people reach the shelters. At the elementary school, Hye-jin heard the explosions and knew immediately something was terribly wrong. She looked at her students. They were scared. Some were crying. "Children, listen to me," she said, keeping her voice calm even though her heart was racing. "We're going to play a special game. We're going to go down to the basement and we're going to be very quiet. Can you do that for me? The children nodded. Doyen took his sister's hand. Come on, Nari, he said. Stay close to me. Hyejin led all 15 children down the stairs to the school's basement. It was designed to be a shelter, with thick walls and a strong door. She got the children inside and locked the door behind them. Then she turned off most of the lights to save power. Teacher, what's happening? A small boy asked. Bad people are attacking our town, Hyejin said honestly. But the soldiers will protect us. We just need to stay here and be safe. Outside, Kryn soldiers moved through the streets. They wore heavy armor and carried powerful weapons. Their commander, Drath, watched from his ship as his forces secured the colony. No resistance worth mentioning, one of his officers reported. The humans have weak defenses, Drath laughed. Humans, they pretend to be warriors, but they're soft. They spend their time farming and teaching children instead of preparing for war. Fools. Sir, the resource depots are ours. Should we begin loading? Yes, and search the buildings. There may be valuable technology. The Kryn soldiers began breaking into buildings. They searched homes, offices, and shops. Most humans had made it to shelters, but a few were caught in the open. The Kryn pushed them aside roughly, not caring if they hurt anyone. Jiwan and her team were pinned down near the town center. They had managed to evacuate most of the civilians, but the Kryn had superior firepower. Every time Jiwan tried to move forward, enemy fire drove her back. We need to get to the school district, she said to Taemin. There are still people there. We can't, Corporal. There are too many of them between us and the school. Jiwan wanted to scream in frustration. She thought of the children who might still be in danger. She thought of Hyejin and her students. She had to reach them. She tried to contact the school on her radio. This is Corporal Kim to New Jeju Elementary. Please respond, Static answered her. The Kryn were jamming communications. At his ship, Commander Drath received a report. Sir, we found a school building. It appears to be occupied. Search it, Drath ordered. Humans hide their valuables. They may have stored something there. A squad of Kryn soldiers approached the school. They broke down the main door and entered. The building was empty except for the basement door, which was locked from the inside. Open this door, the squad leader commanded. Inside the basement, Hyejin heard the demand. Her heart sank. She looked at the children. They were terrified. Some were shaking. Nari was crying silently, her face pressed against her brother's shoulder. Don't open it, Doyen whispered to Hyejin. Please don't open it. Hyejin wanted to protect them, but she had no weapons. She was just a teacher. If she refused to open the door, the Kryn would break it down anyway. At least if she opened it, she might be able to talk to them, to make them understand that these were children, that they were innocent. She unlocked the door. It swung open and 3 Kryn soldiers entered. They were massive, almost 7 feet tall, with gray skin and sharp features. Their armor made them look even more frightening. What are you doing here? The squad leader demanded. These are students, Hyejin said, stepping between the soldiers and the children. They're just children. Please don't hurt them. The squad leader looked at the children with cold eyes. Where are the valuable items? Where do you store your technology? This is a school, Hyejin said. We have books and computers for teaching. That's all. The squad leader grabbed Hyejin by the arm and pushed her aside. She fell hard against the wall. The children screamed. Doyen stood up. He was only 7 years old, but he was brave. Leave our teacher alone, he shouted. The squad leader looked at the boy with surprise, then amusement. Brave little human, he said. Then he grabbed Doyen by the arm, his grip tight enough to bruise. Tell me where your parents keep their valuables. I don't know. Doyen cried out in pain. Let go! Nari screamed. Stop hurting my brother, stop it. The squad leader shoved Doyen roughly to the ground. The boy's arm hit the floor wrong, and everyone heard a cracking sound. Doyen cried out in pain, holding his arm. It was broken. Nari's screams grew louder. Other children started crying. Hyejin tried to get to Doyen, but another soldier held her back. Quiet them down, the squad leader ordered. What the Kryn didn't know was that one of them had accidentally activated an open communication channel on his suit. Everything happening in the basement was being broadcast. The children's screams, Doyen's cry of pain, Nari's terrified voice, all of it went out on multiple frequencies. At the defense center, Jiwan heard it. She was checking all frequencies, desperate for information, when Nari's scream came through her radio. Her blood ran cold. No, she whispered. No, no, no. Dr. Minho heard it too in the shelter where he had taken refuge. His face went pale. Those were children, human children, being hurt. Across the colony, every human who still had a working radio heard those screams. Soldiers who had been holding defensive positions felt something change inside them. The fear left them. The caution left them. Something primal and fierce took their place. Ambassador Vecthar heard it as well. He was on his ship in orbit, preparing to leave the system when the attack began. But when he heard the children's screams, when he heard the Kryn hurting them, he froze. No, he breathed. They didn't. They couldn't have. His communications officer looked at him with wide eyes. Ambassador, they harmed human children. Vecthar felt a wave of horror wash over him. He had studied humans for years. He had learned their history, their culture, their values. He knew what they cared about most. And he knew what humans did to those who threatened their young. Send a quantum transmission, he ordered. Maximum priority. Send it to our council, to the Quiln, to every species that has relations with humanity. Tell them what happened here. Sir, what should the message say? Vecthar looked at his officer and his voice was filled with dread. Tell them that the Kryn have made a terrible mistake. Tell them that they harmed human children. Tell them to evacuate any civilians from Kryn space immediately. Sir, I don't understand. You will, Vecthar said quietly. Soon everyone will understand. The Kryn think they're raiders. They think they're strong, but they've just awakened something far more dangerous than they can imagine. In the school basement, Hyejin finally broke free and rushed to Doyun. She cradled the crying boy, checking his broken arm. The other children huddled together, terrified. The Kryn squad leader reported back to Commander Drath. Sir, there's nothing of value here. Just human young ones and a teacher. Leave them, Drath ordered. They're not worth our time. Finish loading the resources and prepare to leave. The Kryn soldiers left the basement, locking the door behind them. Hyejin held Doyun and tried to comfort all the children at once. It's going to be okay, she told them, though she wasn't sure she believed it herself. Help is coming. Help will always come. High above the planet, Vecthar's message raced across space faster than light. Soon the entire galaxy would know what happened on New Jeju. Soon everyone would know that someone had broken. The news spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Within hours of Ambassador Vecthar's transmission, every major species knew what had happened on New Jeju. The message was simple and terrifying. The Kryn had attacked a human colony and harmed human children. On the Vithari homeworld, High Council member Telnara received the message while in a meeting. She read it once, then read it again. Her forearms began to tremble. Cancel all trade agreements with the Kryn, she ordered immediately. Recall every Vithari citizen from Kryn space. Do it now. Her advisors looked confused. Council member, this seems like an extreme reaction. Perhaps we should wait and see what happens. Telnara turned to face them. You don't understand. 20 years ago, there was an incident at Theta Station. A mining company killed children of a primitive species during their operations. The humans discovered this. Do you know what they did? The advisors shook their heads. They didn't just shut down that mining company, Telnara continued. They hunted down every person involved. They seized assets across 3 systems. They made it clear that harming children, any children, was unforgivable. And those were children of a species humans had never even met before. Now imagine what they'll do when it's their own children who were hurt. One advisor spoke up nervously. But surely they'll follow legal procedures. They'll go through the Universal Accord. Telnara laughed, but there was no humor in it. They'll follow the law, yes. But the law won't save the Kryn. Nothing will save them now. Get our people out of there before humans arrive. On the Quiln research vessel orbiting a nearby star, Scholar Rilvek was studying human military history when the news reached him. He had been working on a paper about human warfare for years. He thought he understood them. Now reading about New Jeju, he realized he might have missed something important. He pulled up his files on human conflicts. He looked for patterns. What he found made his blood run cold. In every war, every battle, every conflict where children were threatened, humans fought differently. They became relentless. They took risks that seemed insane. They refused to stop until every child was safe. There was a battle on Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, over 100 years ago. Soldiers had been trapped with a school full of children. Enemy forces surrounded them. Logic said they should surrender. Instead, those soldiers fought for 3 days straight without sleep, without proper food until reinforcements arrived. Not a single child was lost. There was the incident on Mars when terrorists took over a colony and held families hostage. Human special forces went in without any of the usual careful planning. They moved so fast and so efficiently that the terrorists didn't even have time to react. The children were rescued in less than 10 minutes. Rilvik found dozens of examples, hundreds of examples, and in every single case, humans put the safety of children above everything else, even their own laws, even their own lives. He sent an urgent message to his people. Stay away from Kryn space. If you have any ships near there, move them. The humans are coming, and when they arrive, anyone in the way might get hurt. On a trading ship called the Morning Star, Captain Yenna was loading cargo when her first officer burst onto the bridge. Captain, we need to leave now. What? We're not finished loading. We need this contract. Forget the contract. The Kryn just attacked a human colony and hurt children. We're 3 jumps away from Kryn space. We need to leave right now. Yenna felt her mouth go dry. They hurt children? Human children? Yes, ma'am. Yenna had been a trader for 30 years. Her mentor had been a woman who survived the border wars, where humans and several alien species fought against a conquering empire. That mentor had told her many things, but one piece of advice stood out. Never ever threaten a human's young, her mentor had said. I've seen humans fight entire armies to save one child. I've seen them cross impossible distances, overcome impossible odds. They're nice people most of the time, friendly and reasonable. But if you hurt their children, if you even threaten their children, they become something else entirely. They become unstoppable. Drop the cargo, Yenna ordered. We leave in 10 minutes. Send a message to any ship we know. Tell them to get out of Kryn space. Already done, Captain. At the Galactic Assembly, an emergency session was called. Representatives from across the galaxy gathered in person and through hologram. The chamber was filled with worried voices. Ambassador Vekthar stood at the center and waited for silence. When the room finally quieted, he spoke. I come before you today to report a crime, he said. The Kryn have attacked the human colony of New Jeju. They have stolen resources, destroyed property, and most seriously, they have harmed human children. Gasps filled the chamber. Some species didn't understand why this was different from any other raid, but others, those who knew humans well, looked horrified. Vekthar continued. I have brought evidence. He played the audio recording of the attack. The children's screams filled the chamber. Dorian's cry of pain, Nari's terrified voice, Hyajin's desperate pleas. When the recording ended, the chamber was silent. Even species that didn't usually care about such things looked uncomfortable. The Kryn have violated the Universal Accord, Vekthar said. But more than that, they have violated the most sacred principle that holds our galactic community together. We protect children, all children, of all species. This is what makes us civilized. This is what separates us from savages. A representative from a species allied with the Kryn stood up. This is unfortunate, but surely we can resolve this through diplomatic channels. Perhaps reparations could be paid. Vekthar turned to look at the speaker. You don't understand. This isn't about money. This isn't about diplomacy. The Kryn have crossed a line that cannot be uncrossed. You're being dramatic, the Kryn ally said. The humans will complain, we'll negotiate, and life will go on. An old Vethari admiral stood up. His name was Kelthros, and he had fought alongside humans in the border wars. May I speak? The assembly granted permission. I was there, Kelthros said, his voice heavy with memory. I fought with humans against the empire that wanted to conquer us all. I saw things that I still have trouble believing. Let me tell you a story. The chamber listened. There was a battle on a moon called Zarin 7 we were losing. The enemy had us surrounded, and they were torturing prisoners to break our will. Among those prisoners were civilians they had captured from another world. Families, children. Kelthros paused, his eyes distant. The human commander got news of this. I watched his face change. It was like watching ice form. He called his officers together and said, We're breaking through the lines. We're getting those prisoners out. We told him it was impossible. We told him we'd all die. Do you know what he said? The assembly waited, he said, then we die. But those children don't. And then he led the attack himself. We followed because we didn't want to be shamed by his courage. We fought through lines that should have been unbreakable. We took casualties that should have made us retreat. But we didn't stop. The human soldiers didn't stop. They fought like beings possessed. Did you save them? Someone asked. We saved every single prisoner, Kelthros said. Every single one. And do you know what the human commander did after? He went to the children first before getting medical treatment for his own wounds, and he promised them they were safe now. I'll never forget the look in his eyes. It wasn't anger. It wasn't hate. It was love. Fierce, protective love. Kelthros looked around the chamber. That's what makes humans dangerous. It's not their weapons. It's not their technology. It's that they care. When you hurt their children, you're not fighting soldiers anymore. You're fighting every human who hears about it. And they won't stop until justice is done. The Kryn ally sat down, looking less confident now. Vekthar spoke again. I am told that Earth's expeditionary fleet is already moving. Colonial fleets from 17 human worlds are converging on New Jeju. Private ships are volunteering. Veterans are coming out of retirement, and the humans haven't said a word officially. They're just coming, and wait, what will they do? A young diplomat asked. What they always do, Vekthar replied. They'll bring their children home, and they'll make sure everyone understands that hurting children has consequences. At that moment, a new transmission came in. It was broadcast on all frequencies. The voice was calm and cold. It belonged to Corporal Jiwon Kim, speaking from New Jeju. This is Corporal Kim of the New Jeju Colonial Defense Force. We are transmitting to Commander Drath of the Kryn raiding fleet. You have 12 hours to return all captive civilians and leave the system. You have 12 hours to surrender yourself for trial. This is your only chance. The transmission ended. There was no anger in Jiwon's voice. No threats. Just a simple statement. Somehow that was more frightening than any threat could have been. On his ship, Commander Drath heard the message and laughed. 12 hours? They think they can give me orders? Let them try. We have fortifications. We have weapons. These weak humans can do nothing. His officers agreed, but some looked nervous. They had heard stories too. Back at the Galactic Assembly, species were making decisions. The Quiln announced they were suspending all scientific exchanges with the Kryn. The Vithari declared their borders closed to Kryn ships. One by one, allies of humanity stepped forward to condemn the attack. The 12 hours passed in tense silence. Commander Drath had ignored every warning, every plea. He stood on the bridge of his command ship and watched the human fleet gather at the edge of the system. He smiled with confidence. Look at them, he said to his officers. So many ships, but they won't attack. They're afraid of casualties. They're soft. His tactical officer wasn't as confident. Sir, those aren't just military ships. There are colony defense forces, private vessels, even some merchant ships that have been armed. They're coming from everywhere. They're desperate, Drath said, and desperation makes people weak. We have fortifications on the ground. We have shields. We have superior position. Let them come. What Drath didn't see were the other ships arriving. Vithari destroyers, Quiln support vessels, ships from a dozen species that humans had befriended over the years. They weren't coming to fight, but they were coming to help. On one of those Vithari ships, Ambassador Vekthar stood on the bridge. His captain looked at him with concern. Ambassador, the humans told us to stay back. They said they don't want us in danger. I know what they said, Vekthar replied. But those children in that school sang songs for me. They asked me questions about my home. They trusted me. I won't abandon them now. The captain nodded. Then we'll stay close. If the humans need us, we'll be here. On New Jeju, Corporal Jiwon Kim gathered her team. They had been reinforced by some of the first human ships to arrive. Special operations soldiers, trained for exactly this kind of rescue. But Jiwon wasn't stepping back. This was her colony. These were her people. The mission commander was a woman named Captain Yoonji Han. She was from Earth's Special Rescue Forces, and her entire career had been about saving people from impossible situations. We're going to hit them fast and hard, Yoonji explained to the team. Our priority is the children. Everything else is secondary. We don't care about the Kryn ships. We don't care about their supplies. We care about getting those kids out alive. Jiwon listened carefully. The school basement has thick walls, she said. But it only has one entrance. If the Kryn realize we're coming, they might use the children as shields. They won't have time to realize anything, Yoonji said with cold certainty. We're using pinpoint FTL jumps. We'll be inside the school before they know we're coming. Dr. Minho Park was coordinating with the alien vessels. His job was to make sure everyone understood their role. The Vithari would help evacuate wounded civilians. The Quiln would provide medical support. Other species were offering supplies and assistance. The humans are taking all the risk, one Quiln medic said. Why? Why would they do this? Minho looked at the medic. Because that's what we do. We don't leave our children behind. We never leave them behind. Above the planet, the human fleet moved into position. There was no communication with the Kryn, no last warnings, no threats. They simply began their attack. The first wave hit the Kryn orbital defenses like a hammer. Human ships fired with precision, taking out weapons platforms and shield generators. The Kryn tried to fight back, but they were overwhelmed by the sheer number of attackers. Commander Drath watched his defenses crumble in minutes. How are they doing this? Sir, they're not following normal attack patterns, his tactical officer reported, panic in his voice. They're taking crazy risks. They're ignoring damage to their own ships. It's like they don't care about losses. Everyone cares about losses, Drath shouted, but he was wrong. The human ships did care about losses, but they cared more about the children. Every pilot, every gunner, every crew member knew why they were there. They were there because somewhere below kids were scared and hurt, and that knowledge made them fierce. On the ground, Kryn soldiers prepared for defense. They had fortified positions around the colony. They had heavy weapons. They thought they were ready, they weren't. The first human assault teams didn't come from the sky. They didn't march across the ground. 1 second there was nothing. The next second they were there, inside the Kryn defensive lines. Pinpoint FTL jumps had put them exactly where they needed to be. The Kryn soldiers tried to react, but the human teams moved like ghosts. They were fast, efficient, and utterly focused. Any Kryn who stood between them and the school was disarmed or disabled in seconds. Jiwon led one team through the streets toward the school. She could see the building now. Kryn guards were posted outside. They hadn't noticed the attack yet. They were about to. Flashbangs on my mark, Jiwon ordered. Remember, we go through them, not around them. 3, 2, 1, mark. Grenades flew through the air. Bright light and deafening sound overwhelmed the Kryn guards. Before they could recover, human soldiers were among them. Within 30 seconds, every guard was down, their weapons secured. At the school entrance, Captain Yoonji's team set up breaching charges. They had to be careful. The children were in the basement, and they couldn't risk hurting them with explosives or debris. Shape charges, minimal blast, Yoonji ordered. We make a hole, we go in fast, we secure the children. Everyone clear? Clear, her team responded. In the basement, Hyejin heard sounds above, fighting, explosions. She held the children closer. Doyun's broken arm was bandaged with torn cloth from her shirt. He was pale, but trying to be brave. Nari hadn't stopped crying since the Kryn hurt her brother. Is it the bad aliens coming back? A small girl asked. I don't know, sweetie, Hyejin said. But we're going to stay quiet and stay together. Then they heard a different sound. A voice calling down the stairs. A human voice. New Jeju Elementary, this is Captain Han of Earth Special Rescue. We're coming to get you. Stay calm and stay away from the door. Hyejin felt tears stream down her face. We're here, she called back. 15 children and 1 teacher. 1 child has a broken arm. Understood. Moving in now. The basement door exploded inward, but gently. The blast was controlled just enough to break the lock. Then soldiers poured in, moving with quick precision. They swept the room with their weapons, making sure no Kryn were hiding. Jiwon was one of the first through the door. She saw the children huddled together, scared and dirty. She saw Hyejin holding them protectively, and she saw young Doyun trying to stand despite his broken arm, trying to protect his sister one more time. Jiwon knelt down and removed her helmet. She wanted them to see her face, to know she was human like them. Hey there, she said gently. I'm Corporal Jiwon. We're going to take you home now. Doyun stared at her. You came, he whispered. The ambassador said you would come. We always come, Jiwon replied. Always. You were so brave, Doyun, but you don't have to be brave anymore. We've got you now. Nari reached out for Jiwon, and Jiwon scooped her up carefully. The little girl buried her face in Jiwon's shoulder and sobbed. Other soldiers moved in, each taking a child. They were gentle, speaking in soft voices, making sure each child felt safe. Medical personnel checked Doyun's arm and administered pain medication. We need to move, Captain Yoonji said. The building is secure, but we need to get them to the evacuation point. They formed a protective formation around the children. Soldiers created a shield barrier using their equipment, making sure no weapon could reach the kids. Then they moved out. Outside, the battle was still going on, but the humans were winning. Kryn soldiers who saw the children being evacuated tried to interfere, but they were stopped immediately. Human soldiers who had been holding back, being tactical and careful, became absolutely relentless when they saw the children. Nothing was allowed to threaten them. Ambassador Vekthar watched from his ship as the rescue unfolded. He saw the human soldiers protecting the children with their own bodies. He saw them take risks that seemed insane, all to ensure no child was hurt. "This is what I tried to tell the Kryn," he said quietly to his captain. "This is what humans are when their children are threatened. They become unstoppable." The evacuation point was a secured area where Vethari medical ships waited. As each child was brought aboard, alien doctors worked alongside human medics to check them over. Doyen's arm was properly set and healed using advanced technology. Within hours, it would be as good as new. Hee-Jin refused to leave until the last child was safe. Only when all 15 kids were accounted for did she finally allow herself to be checked by a doctor. She had bruises and a minor concussion, but she would be fine. Commander Drath watched all of this from his ship. His defenses were gone. His soldiers were surrendering, and now human ships were surrounding him. A transmission came through. "Commander Drath, this is Admiral Park of the Earth Expeditionary Fleet. You are under arrest for war crimes. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded." Drath considered fighting. He considered trying to escape. But he looked at his tactical screen and saw dozens of human ships around him. He saw Vethari destroyers blocking escape routes. He saw that he had lost. He powered down his weapons. Within the hour, Drath was in custody. He was placed in a cell on a human ship and left there to think about what he had done. On the surface, the children were being reunited with their parents. Crying families held their kids close. Nari and Doyen found their mother in the crowd, and she dropped to her knees, pulling them into her arms. Jiwon watched the reunions from a distance. She was exhausted and her body hurt from the fighting. But seeing those children safe, seeing those families together again,